Welcome everyone to the 249th weekly MLP Drawing School live
So
critique stream.
many.
So
It's
many.
250th next time.
Yeah, whoa. We might have to
We were,
actually do
we were,
something for that. Like,
yeah, we were thinking about it, but I didn't realize it's so soon. Oh gosh.
we'll get
Yeah,
around
it's
to it.
coming up.
Who knows? Stay tuned. Maybe we'll do something. So,
Pressure. Yay.
as you can hear, the ever attentive Fluffy's Eye is here.
Hello.
And positioned somewhere just directly above them, but slightly around. No, how does this work? Yes, we got, Santa Claus.
Oh hi. Ho. Be good. Don't
I
trace
don't have
your
a
art.
Christmas name yet.
Well, you can trace, but we won't get into this.
Trace for art.
Tra-
For learning, sorry. Not
trace for
for
learning, not for
owning.
tracing.
That's what I meant.
And directly above them, we got Pixin Up.
Hello, good morning. How we going?
Who
So
appears to be
enthusiastic, glad
asleep.
to have you.
Yeah.
And last on the list, we got Mouse in the Stocking cute pencil case.
Hi. That's it. And there's LD too.
Brains. So as always, if you got any pictures to fire towards us, fire it towards us at high velocity. If you got any questions, feel free to forward it to to any of us. And if you're looking for any last minute Christmas gifts, you might be able to commission your local artist. I believe Alley Claw has some open CPCU.
Yes, they open
I'm
again.
sort of flexible.
You're sort of flexible. You might
There's
have
a lot
yours
I
open.
can't do, but so sometimes I just take commissions in secret if I feel like I can actually draw them.
All right, and if you give Fluffy's Eye the right commission, he might draw it for you.
I suggest snakes.
Yes.
I think to increase your chances.
Yeah,
That is true.
all right. So let's hop into these pictures. I see Zimmer hanging around our chat. Well, he's not here, listening to us. He might just be sniffing some packets along there. So let's do theirs.
Where is it on the canvas?
It's the bottom right-hand corner. It's the human.
Okay.
Aha.
Okay, the human.
The trick of the stars.
Whoa.
You know, wearing an artist glove is quite useful because then I know which hand is the right one.
I should put mine on.
Are we
Now-
doing human first?
Always tablet safely. Put on your drawing
Well,
gloves.
mine is more. I don't like touching the screen. It's yucky.
I don't like smudging my screen.
My screen has hot chocolate on it. I should clean
That's
it
not
eventually.
good.
So they originally started trying to draw another Ensign Twilight, but the face kept looking like it was an older Twilight. So they leaned into that and got to this piece. Felt like they did a decent job. Thought the head is on the large side for what they would have liked. Need to practice getting their proportions more consistent. Pose also feels a bit stiff. Lastly, I need to do a study of the figure to make sure to know what makes it look younger, older in anatomy.
Yeah, it's hard to convey specific ages because a lot of the time the thing that conveys specific ages is just how many lines describe the face. Older characters have some more wrinkles, some more stuff. But a lot of the time you don't need to change like too much of the actual face structure or anything like that. It's just using a couple more lines to describe it. Putting in an additional cheek line here, an additional couple lines above or below around the eyes here and there. But like a lot of the time you'll do that accidentally anyway. And so your character will just end up like looking old and you'll just not know why. So don't stress too much about getting specific ages. Because as you draw, older and younger people, you'll just sort of learn that side of things.
Do you have any questions in particular on this one, Zara?
Hmm.
I think they're like listening to the stream while talking in the Discord.
I see them. The sneaky.
Waiting
It's
for
the
a
chin
spring
line
delay.
pushing the age.
Hmm.
Pose is stiff.
I'm so lost. I'm trying to find the voice channel again. Okay. Like, what server am I in?
Yeah,
So
it's always a little bit interesting with the kind of posing. When I'm like looking at drawing people or figures or that kind of thing, I normally think about it in
Another
like
layer.
two specific sections: structure and gesture.
Ah.
And so structure is like, making sure that the face is like a specific thing that like matches like how real human faces are, and making sure that the rib cage is this very specific kind of shape that matches like the anatomy and all that kind of thing. And gesture is
I can't draw.
the looking at things like line of action to like have an underlying quick very gestural sort of stroke. And like the way to like fix structure and to get better at that is to just like look at anatomy stuff. And the way to look at and work on gesture is to do gesture drawing,
yeah.
where you basically just normally when you do like a gesture session, life drawing sort of session, you'll just have like
Okay, now I can draw again. Nope. It stops.
30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, and then you can have like a 20 minute or something like that longer.
What
And
the
you'll
hell?
have 4 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these, and then 1 of these or something like that. So that's like an average kind of like a class setup in terms of the amount of time. And if you go to like something like line of
What is happening?
action, which is just a website, they have a class mode that'll actually just automatically set all that out for you. You'll just you just put in like how long you want the class to be, and it'll like split it up accurately.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
if you
trying
do
to
like a gesture drawing session, that's the kind of thing that'll help you. It'll help you loosen up and get a better idea as to sort of how you can draw things with the fluidity and with the but basically shake off some of that stiffness that you're having in some of your drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me erase all this.
And this might be just something that you do over time, and it might
Mm,
be good to think about how often you do this. Like maybe I know sometimes it makes art less fun to do this, but sometimes pushing in that little bit of discipline where you say, okay, this day and this day at this time, I'm going to do a hour session or half hour session, and you do it that 2 times a week and you keep doing it. And it's not going to get better right away, but the fact that you're making it habit, you're going to start to learn that kind of stuff by keep repeating it. Because I know a lot of art we see from you is mostly finished or trying to be neat and clean. I don't think we've seen a lot of sketches from you or a lot of like fleshing out just pages filled with doodles, that kind of stuff. So with learning the fluidity of gesture and with learning, I mean, even anatomy, you just want to fill those pages. You want to get that drawing, learn that drawing, learn working with your hand to get that control and understanding because you definitely like you're showing us a lot of promise, but I think right now it's like that little like jump of studying. Oh yeah, totally. Submit sketch pages. We don't like we in fact we love not
Hmm.
finished art more because there's more questions to be discussed unless you have like a very specific question about finished
Yeah.
art.
Not to mention,
Um,
finished art is all like speculative for the future because you've kind of
yes,
done everything, and we're not going to make you redraw your entire picture. Like most
yes.
of the time, unless it's like small tweaks, a lot of advice we give for the sort of more finished and structured pictures is like, well, if it's going to involve like having to redraw the lines or change like the very concept of the picture, we're not going to expect you. So that's it. The advice is more like for future reference, but sketches are easy to refine and change.
Mhm. Or at least look into like somewhere in the process that maybe is a struggle for you. Like if you aren't letting yourself sketch messy enough, because that's a big one I know we've seen a lot is people like, oh, here's my sketch, and it looks practically like line art. I'm not saying that's how your sketches go, but I'm just saying as a general example, like some people need to let loose a little bit more to get that fluidity, and that's what they're missing, and yada yada. It's good to talk about the process, which is why we love questions. We love
Hmm.
like all the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out where the those blue lines I accidentally created were. Have they gone? Oh, they've gone. No, yeah, they have. Okay. Aggie was being really weird. I was trying to draw like the undersketch of the head, and every time I did like the cross line, it would like stop halfway through, and then from that point on, I couldn't draw anything, and I couldn't like delete the layer or do anything to the layer or erase anything, and I had to refresh the page, and then it would like undo that, so like there
Oh.
wasn't any line at all now, and I try again, and it freezes again. It's like what? It's so weird.
If I would kindly direct everyone to the voice channel, we just got a slew of wonderful sketchy pages that we can
Yeah.
now discuss.
Wow. Okay, so I'm looking at a lot of these, and the thing I'm loving that there's quite an underdrawing going on under these. Like you're working up or you're building up the shape, which works very well for a lot of people. Highly suggest it. Loving that you've just shotgun approach some of these. It's wonderful.
Whoa, sketchy stuff.
Hell yeah.
Under sketching. Whoa. Yeah, human anatomy and getting that to look right is like annoying and difficult and everything.
It for sure takes time. Um, I mean, any kind of learning of anatomy takes time. It's just one of those things in art,
Hmm.
which is why patience is like number one thing to learn in art.
Mm. Patience and keeping yourself motivated.
Yes. Oh, double for that. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, if I could give my subjective 2 cents here, I think you're not letting yourself be messy enough in the right ways. I see a lot of lines, but I don't see a lot of shapes. Um, like if I scroll to which image do I want? The one where there's 3 women on a sketch page. I think it's November 6th. I love some of the shapes going on there. I love the breakdown there, but I feel like there could be more shapes here. I don't know if you've cleaned up your sketches or not, but I feel like we're missing like you could use a whole lot more building blocks going on here to help you solidify that anatomy to get it into place. There's some parts that feel a lot nicer than the others, like the middle one with the shoulders. The shoulders feel really nice. Same with the shoulders on the one to the right. I had to figure out which was my right. Um, yeah, it's staying away from just like doing the outline and build it from the inside out. Like if you were like taking a ball of clay, you don't just like form the clay into the outline, right? You add clay, you take it away, you put shapes in to start the clay's base, like a head or a cylinder or that kind of idea. Now this is again subjective. I find it's really helpful for a lot to use more building blocks than less because you can always learn to take away building blocks when you get comfortable. Like training wheels, you still need wheels on a bike, right? Sometimes you just need more wheels and sometimes you need less wheels. Some people can ride unicycles, some I'm sure there's someone that can just fly. They just fly. Maybe it's surfing. I don't know. I don't know the right analogy. But yeah. Um, more more messy shapes and letting yourself not find the image. Go from vague to detailed instead of trying to hit the detailed first, sort of. Like get that, oh, okay, the leg needs to have this shape, so I'm going to shape the leg before I, figure out the proportions, sort of idea. Yeah. Build them walls. Or we tend to use cake. I remember back when we were explaining this to somebody else, we use cake a lot, as in like you can't put icing on the cake when the cake's not baked and you just have flour in the bowl. You can't put icing in it.
You could just eat the
Yeah.
icing.
You could just eat the icing. That's fair.
See that's the analogy to that is like just the icing is like looking at people's art to study it. Like you could just sit there and like look at the art and how beautiful it is, or you can try and bake into a cake. See what analogy actually works, CPC.
Right. I couldn't break it.
It's eating your food.
It's very tasty.
So yeah,
I took a
that's
break
my
to do a little human on the side.
that's my little subjective rant. So I don't know if you have any questions about it or anything, or if anyone else has anything to say.
No.
Oh, I like it. Whenever I'm, practicing, I'll just mess around with like different shapes and do weird shit. Like this. I do a bunch of triangles and try to work out shapes from there. Or I'll do a bunch of other different stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like finding the puzzle pieces that make sense in your head. It doesn't have to make sense in anybody else's head, but if it helps you understand, if these like shapes, these things you piece together, help you grasp the anatomy or the flow or whatever, that's great. Just don't be afraid to use them because it quote unquote makes something look messy. Art's supposed to be messy. I know there's 1,000 people that are like, oh, here's my doodle, and it's like the Sistine Chapel. It's still a doodle to them. Just
I keep doing that. I'll because but it depends on what you mean by doodle. Because for me, it's just like a drawing that I'm doing for
chill. Yeah,
fun, and I've just
usually it's
sketched it
like
out, and then I've
chill.
like refined. I've like played with it a little bit, and now it sort of looks nice. I've neatened it a little bit, and it's like it's not a serious picture. It's just here's a doodle, and I post it, and someone's just like with a stick figure, like, what do you mean that's a doodle?
Art's subjective, rainbow, sparkle,
Exactly.
sparkle,
It's just what
sparkle.
it means to you.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Let's do
Yeah.
it. And no, you don't need. I mean, we're all art enthusiasts. We specialize, quote unquote, specialized. It's not like we're have a degree. Um, we're all here because of Pony, but we all want
I'm
to draw.
working on getting a degree, just not in art.
Well, I mean, well, there was at one point someone thought the MLPDS was an actual school, and we were like, no,
Oh.
no, we're not.
Yeah,
When
no.
did this
No.
happen? When did this happen?
It was a while ago.
Was
I'll
it
probably just say more
Zai?
after. I'll say more after.
No.
Yeah.
I
we
mean, I
sort of
can
lie about our name.
put up a diploma thingy, and you can download it and put your name on it.
We should do that.
Oh my god.
It's like a little joke. Haven't we done that before? We've like joked about things like I swear we did this with Galen and someone else as well. We're just like you have graduated, like you're good.
See, the trick is it's there for you to download whenever, because you decide when you graduate.
Yeah. And truth is, you've never finished learning.
It's Hotel California. You've entered, but you can never leave.
Yep.
All right. So our next picture up, top left-hand corner, is by
Slinky
yes, Slinky Pie. It is by Apathetic X Addict. Slinky Pie, and I believe this is a reaction to our last week's stream.
Very nice.
It's
Very
wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that you've been listening to our advice.
Nice. Did they have any questions this time, or?
I don't see any questions offhand.
Oh, that's the one advice they didn't listen to.
Dum,
Questions! Give us
dum, dum.
questions! Since you have such, like, a fun expressive art style, we don't know how or what direction to go with if we don't know what questions you have, because
Yeah, we want to know your insight. We want to know what your art means to you and what you're trying to accomplish and what you're struggling with, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't literally have to be just like, I don't know how to make this leg work. Please help with this leg. Like sometimes it is, and that's absolutely fine. Otherwise, if it's just like I'm struggling with like my general like viewpoints or proportioning or just anything like that, or just where do you think I can sort of go with X? Yeah, it's very useful to learn that stuff.
Mhm.
I do like the simple shadows you've put on this. It works very well for the simple coloring style that goes with it. The almost cartoony in nature style, because some of your lines, like your coloring falls outside of the lines that it's been put on, but it actually fits the image, like how the color's built up. It works well.
Mhm.
Teachers tell you to color within the lines. Nah, it's
Bunch
creative this
of
way.
lamos coloring in the lines. Jeez, pa.
Make your own
Pa.
lines.
Exactly.
I would say you could make the spring brighter color, like a silver or something to really pop because everything's so dark. I see there's a little bit of coloring in, but I think it could use more of a pop to really show like, oh, it does Slinky.
Feel like if it was Pinkie Pie, it would be like rainbow color or bright pink anyway. Something to really reflect
Covered
her.
in glitter.
Yeah, just somehow every time she separates, it's just glitter and confetti.
That would be CPC.
Oh, I want it to be like so when she makes like a hit, a smack or something, glitter just comes out of her body. Because
It's the spring is just a like one of the like a streamer. It's like a paper streamer, but somehow it still functions as a spring because it's Pinkie Pie.
That sounds reasonable to me. This would be a fun animation.
At the very least, if you just want it to be like a normal spring, just start with white and then put like you can put some textures or shading after that, but just make it and so like adjust the color with like the hue saturation whenever. But it's better to make sure that it stands out first and then play with it.
CPC, the yellow's
Yeah,
you,
there we
right?
go. That looks wonderful.
Yes. I just made the. So I don't know if this is where you're going for with your style, like we've talked about before. I just made all the shapes a bit more 3D. I'm not sure what words to use, but I made the shapes a bit more defined. So that I made little tubes for the legs, and I made a sphere with a cropped top for the body. Just made. I think it could be a little bit neater that way. But I don't know where you're going with your style.
All right. Anyone else have any other piece of critique?
Not too much. It's a interesting, fun little picture, and yeah,
very silly.
I'm not sure what's style and what's intentional and all that sort of stuff, but it looks pretty good. I like it.
All right, let's move on then. Our next one will be top middle. This one is by Shadow Assassin. This was my biggest project so far, and I'm really proud of myself. I learned how to do lighting while
Aw.
making this. I hope I did it right. Was inspired by the movie Alien to make this.
You know what's right? What you did right? You made an incredible art that you're proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
And it's so there's so much to this. You really went all out. It's awesome. I love the sort of rule of thirds to it as well. Like you got the character and the sort of the foreground and background positioned very nicely in the composition of the image.
I wanted to do a really deep dive into this, but I completely just forgot and but you've got like a lot of details and a lot of like cool like structure to everything like that. I think that the thing that would probably help you the most is just to look at sort of overall very very simple sort of picture composition, like thumbnailing and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some good videos on YouTube about that. More about what at a very sort of general sense, what should be positioned where, and sort of how do you make the picture really impactful and interesting and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, but this looks really good. Good picture.
Perspective seems pretty good. I think one of the big things about Alien, though, one of the things that Ripley Scott really did very good while doing the filmography of this movie was the uses of darks to lights, and they really made a lot of elements very dark without being black because they didn't want people to be lost in the inky blackness that was
Like a lot
the
of movies and
lightscape.
games too.
Yeah. And they knew the limitations of most people's TVs around the time of that coming out. Yours is a bit brighter than I would have expected for something that's pulled off from Alien. I would definitely pull a lot more darks into this, getting closer to that black value, without losing too much context. But things like your lights, they will be the lighting source that will happily light up the needed area. So your blood still
Yeah.
gets that nice highlight to it, glowing off those red panels, but the rest of the area, yeah, it darkens out. Someone's doing it for me. They're doing an excellent job. Basically, you're just going to up that contrast a lot, and it will make this picture wonderful. And the nice thing about doing that is you can sort of hide some of the imperfections. Like your room's dirty, you shut off the light and it's no longer dirty, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
yeah.
also what could be helpful in regards to like making things feel darker without like making everything black. Like obviously, yes, getting just the right balance of lightness is important. Having gradients in certain other areas like faded out is also important. Like playing with light as much as playing with darkness. In the way that like video games and stuff, you see a lot of things about how they'll lead the player's eye by use of lighting. But I think another thing that could help is if you're struggling, like try those things first, and if you're struggling, then maybe what could help is playing with color as well, like making things desaturated and sort of gray can also help to make things feel dark and lonely. So if that's the sort of like emotion that you're trying to put across, and again, as you're playing with lights by flooding everything with shadows first, you can play with colors by really isolating which like what things are in color. If there's a colored light, boom, that's going to be noticeable now. It's going to jump straight out to the eye. You could then use that to really like splash colors and lights on your character's form, and it will stand out a lot more if the rest of the colors are sort of desaturated and pulled from the image. It makes everything feel a little bit more desolate, and I think that could be really cool. So worth experimenting with. Just not just like dropping the saturation of the entire image, but just playing with different areas where you can brush over, making it a little bit grayer, and then where you can apply the color and light on top of that to sort of reapply it, as it were.
I've been messing around with the multiply layers and soft stuff. Something that's like really interesting with these kinds of movies is that a lot of the time they'll have like really weird kinds of off-putting lighting. So, for example, around this area, I added like some weird kinds of like aquarish kinds of glows, and around here it's like kind of a different sort of shade, and it's just messing around a lot with like those kinds of like weird colors, modifying your colors in those kinds of like off-putting sort of ways can help when you're creating this sort of
strange techie vibe to things. But yeah,
There's
most
a
of
lot
it's
to
just
play with.
pushing contrast.
Mm.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Yeah, good luck.
Heck.
I'd say awesome stuff.
All right, our next one up is I am Kitty0187. First post in a while in my new style, smiley face. I feel like it could use some work.
Ooh, new style.
I saw this. I think we all saw this, and we thought, "Oh, this is a good picture. I hope somebody who's talented critiques this." But you've just got us.
It's
Yeah,
very interesting. Very, very creative. I love how you did the halo. It's very interesting.
I love the eyes. I love the drippy
Yeah.
eyes.
Just the composition of everything, because like I think you've really used symmetry well. Like a lot of the time we talk about how asymmetry can make things look a lot more natural. I think the point of this is that it's supposed to be, and even it also draws attention to the fact that the only thing really that's asymmetrical, other than like the dripping stuff coming down from the eyes, because and that stuff coming down the chest is asymmetrical because that's just how physics works. But also the halo, so like I think it adds a nice little tweak. It's a very, very subtle piece of asymmetry. Like we talked about in the last picture, using shadow to make it easier to paint with light, and desaturation to make it easier to paint with colors. You're using symmetry to make it easier to point out very subtle asymmetry and make it have a nice balance. It's good.
Yeah, I'd reckon this is done with a symmetry tool, which there's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah,
think
no, it's a
it's
tool.
lovely.
It's good.
Like I mean, honestly, I agree with everything Fluffy said. The way that it's the anatomy and the pony itself is all perfectly symmetrical. Yeah, literally what Fluffy said. I'm just repeating.
It's good.
I I'd say next time. I feel like a broken record, but ask questions. This is a new style for you, yes. But what about it do you want assistance with? What parts do you not feel comfortable with? Because there's 1,002 million ways to do a style of something. So we could give you each our own interpretation of where the style should go, but what personally do you see that you're not a fan of? What parts of the style do you wish you could tweak? Is there something you want to reach that you know of but don't know how to get there? Or is it just like, I like how I did XYZ, but I don't like, the structure of it, or I don't like the color, or I don't like the brush textures. I'm just reaching here, but questions are
Yeah,
really important for that, especially when it comes to the question of there's something about my style, because only you have your style in your head, especially when it's a new one that's developing.
very true. I agree.
I agree.
It's hard. Like I want to give answers, but it's like I could say one thing and it not be useful at all.
Yeah. I've done one correction to the front of the chest, like from the neck area, how it combines with the front. I've just made it follow out the line as opposed to pulling the shoulders forward. Generally, because the connections for the shoulders are actually behind that front of the neckline, even when they're laid forward. It just that overlap will just help move those shoulders back a bit. Keep it with the horse thing. Very good definition, though. You got anything to say there, Pixie?
Not really. I've just been messing about a bit. These front of the hooves that are kind of like leaned back a little bit are kind of like pretty difficult to get. I just sort of rounded off the back of those and sort of raised this up a little bit. Normally, this sort of an area here is where you'd sort of see the belly and then the legs and all that sort of stuff. So if you're not looking for that, and this is kind of like a normal sort of pony, Just darken that a lot more, and just very explicitly sort of fade it off into the background ether and all that kind of thing. Okay, I don't know what color that is.
Pixie, get to the stream.
Yeah, pretty much. The eyes are always really difficult. I like always drawing the full circle for the eyes. Let me choose a different color. That's a little bit easier. I always like drawing the full color for the eyes. Sorry, the full circle for the eyes, and then cutting into it a bit. But yeah, and then positioning the sort of muzzle sort of in between the eyes a bit. But yeah, otherwise it looks pretty good. I'm excited to see some more of the style and see where you want to take it and all that kind of thing. Good job. Really good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. On to our last picture this week. We got some bats. It's by Asmaga. I haven't watched MLP in about 8 years, but I've been learning to draw, and I thought it would be fun. That's like season 2.
Yeah, you're an OG. An OB.
Been a while, yeah.
Welcome back. So, yeah, yay for drawing bat ponies. These are also very cuties.
Cootie.
I'm not seeing any questions by them.
I have a
Just
look.
is.
Oh, what's happened to my tool? Okay, I'm on white, I guess, but that's okay. It's fixable.
Oh. So it's obvious you're doing other art in this time because these are actually well built up. Your shading's pretty consistent. Your lines seem to be bold enough that they aren't just scribble over top of it. I'd be interested. You got any other art you can share? Any gallery or that? The type of stuff's useful when trying to get sort of a feel on the history of it. Because if you haven't drawn at all for 8 years and you just came back like this, holy crap, man!
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just doing a little bit of a overdraw. Bear in mind that we're not anything we do on this stream. If you're not a regular, you don't have to exactly mimic the style we draw in. We just have things that we're used to doing. We try to sort of emulate the style intended. But there will be aspects of how we normally draw. So the stuff we do here is more suggestion. It's not like the rules. Anyway, I'm just looking this one down here. The legs, just sort of push them together a little bit. Bear in mind, usually the bottom of the legs are usually thicker than the top. Then they sort of taper a little bit for the hooves. They're not going to be cardboard tubes, which also means they're not going to be exactly straight. So just get a little bend in there. Why can I not draw now? What is happening? Okay, I got it. Just rounding everything out because ponies are soft, round marshmallow friends.
And they want hugs.
Soft.
Yes. Like this. So you, I don't have. I do have some like pieces of advice, but I think it's more just what's more useful is just looking at what I'm doing and look and understanding how what I'm doing relates to the sort of show style and to other people's artwork. If you want to study that and have a look, sort of see the correlation in techniques here. So twist the head a little bit more to make it really go for that, like turning around to look over the shoulder appearance. Woof. rounded out the body, shortened it a little bit just to tuck that rump in a little bit. Oops. Yeah, that's better. It's all just a suggestion, but actually, let's try a different color. There we go.
He's
Usually with the
pony's
fluff,
really cute.
yes. Usually with the fluff, you sort of want to have it like come. If you got the body, you want the fluff to sort of come out, and then come around, and then sort of go back in again. At least that's how I prefer to do it, because it makes it look more sort of in line. I didn't do it very well there, but you can get the idea. I also like doing like little tufts of fur on the body, like there and here. Actually, let's straighten these out a little bit. There we go. Hoof. Stumpy hoof. So just a matter of style. You can see the differences already between like Pensacola's style and my own based on the little redraws we've done. It's just worth like looking at show style, movie style, other artists, and just breaking down. Like, don't be afraid to trace if it's just for learning. It's good. It can be a good tool when it comes to trying to figure out like how artists get a feel for how they use lines and shapes and proportions, and to get you started sort of breaking everything down. It can actually be very useful. But whatever techniques you want to use, studying and learning is the most important part.
Yeah. Tracing stuff and breaking it down and all that kind of stuff is super good and cool, so long as you don't, post it afterwards and be like, "This is my thing" when you've traced it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you don't want that.
It's good for learning though, and I do it all the time, and I recommend it.
Same. Awesome. Like I know Pixie always talks about it, but like I do it too where I just take like an artist or even like if there's a few pictures I want to learn something from, I just copy and paste them onto a canvas and just
Mm-hmm.
like put them on the layer below and scribble over top of them to try to figure them
Yes.
out and like then draw next to them and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
like
I've
yeah.
done that before. Like, I think the last example I can sort of think of is I was trying to draw one of my sort of backup D&D characters who's a deer tour. So, and I'm not experienced drawing deers, so I was trying to copy it from a lot of references, but I was still struggling. So I just slapped one on, like you say, like scribble over it for a trace, then like take that drawing and then draw it again next to it, and then after that take that drawing and apply it to the character and try and learn from it.
Mhm.
It helped. I drew a cute deer person.
Woo.
Yeah, getting this like body shape sort of thing to look right from different angles is like one of the most difficult things. So don't be too worried if that takes a while to sort of work out how that looks in your style or whatever, because it's a difficult part of the body to work out, I think.
All right. If anyone else has any other art they'd like to submit or any other questions they'd like to ask, please feel free to throw it at us. If not, we'll be calling it a weekend, or at least a
Woo.
day.
Who
See you
drew
later,
this?
Artemis Plum.
See if Plum.
Have a good night.
Who drew this cute over here?
It looks like CPC. A
CPC.
QT.
It's like the human.
Oh, Flare Horizon.
I don't know what
Hello,
happened
Fla.
there. I don't know how to draw humans.
It's still cute. It reminds me of Wallflower from the Equestria Girls.
I was thinking exactly that.
I was just gonna draw Twilight, but then I was like, no, but poofy hair. I want to draw the poofy hair.
LD, we
Yep,
have
saving
a
it.
thing. Brilliant. I love it.
I do like the cute
Also,
little
hello, Flair.
mouse at the bottom. Very adorable.
I might have drawn that one too.
I never would have guessed.
It totally doesn't look like your adorable style at all.
It was me all along. I take the ownership of it.
All right. Oh, what is a cute pony?
Horse.
There's two
Horse.
cute ponies. Horse.
Horse, of course.
Again, it's been a while. I've roughly sketched this pose and tried to refine it the best I could before then looking at some references to see where I went wrong and correct things. Still feel like proportions / positions are a little bit off. I was wondering if you could point out any additional corrections I could make. Interesting. So was it a challenge on yourself to see how far into a picture without a reference you could get? Or was this just something's not feeling right, let's go look up what's wrong?
I also have one other question. Is there a specific action you're trying to portray? To me, it looks like a pony sitting by like a riverbank, splashing their hoovesies in the water.
Oh,
That's what I'm seeing. My interpretation.
splish, splish, splash.
Mm.
Yeah, it's always fun to challenge yourself. Be like, how far can I get? Don't be afraid of references though. Even the greatest artists use them because they are a wonderful tool. It would be like challenging yourself to not draw with a pencil. I mean, sure, but why?
I have done it before. It's fun. I used a bullet ballpoint pen.
It's fun to sketch
Drawing
with
with
pen.
pens is fun.
Yeah. No, I always fear, and this is maybe an overprotective part of myself, or because I've done it to myself, that drawing without a reference doesn't make you a good artist. And I know that's what people think is like, oh, if I can just reach that bar where I don't need references, I'll finally feel like a good artist. But that's not like I'm always scared when I see someone like, oh, check it out, I drew it without a reference. I'm like, why? Why did you draw without a
Yeah,
reference?
we
What's the
we
real
try to
reason?
fight that stereotype because like, oh, I cheated, I referenced something. It's like, no, you didn't cheat. You did what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Maybe again, I could be like over anxious about the subject, so I'm sorry if it goes too far, but it's like references are good. You don't need to test yourself. It's
I'm-
okay to need
I'm just
references.
imagining Ali in OC form, like just violently shoving references into people's mouths.
Like eating
References!
breakfast.
Eat
Eat your breakfast,
Yeah,
damn it.
basically. Eat your vegetables.
Just testing their ability. All right. I mean, that's totally fair. It's always good fun.
And honestly, whatever gets you drawing and excited to draw.
See, yeah, what I often do with drawing, in fact, I did it with something I've actually been drawing on the side this whole time. What I often do is I'll start drawing without references, but just while I'm like building up the sort of general composition, I have like a vague idea of what I'm doing, and like what characters and objects and things that I'm putting in the scene. So I'll just start like throwing down the overall shapes of them, and then it's only when I get to like the specific details of like how a character's mane looks, or like what like designs and details does this robot have, and things like that I'll start putting up the references just to make sure you get the shapes of the bodies and everything right. But you can totally start just the creative process without that, just splash down ideas.
Yeah, it does have to be said that the way to get to the point of being able to draw things without looking at references is to
Look at a lot of
like
references.
is to look at references enough that while you're drawing, you've got those references just
Yeah.
in your head.
Uh-huh.
And
Because
even
Exactly.
then,
you
your
never
head always
really
lies. Never trust your
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
You have
Like,
you
don't
have
get me
brain
wrong,
on
there's
the camera
definitely
and brain for
there's
dumb.
there's definitely a point where if you draw a character enough, it's in your head to an extent. Let me finish. Like I like with my Spirit Wind blog, for example, I am pretty damn familiar with how to draw Fluttershy at this point and how to draw Spirit, because I draw them a lot. And, because you're doing like, it was essentially a comic just in the sequence of images that you're just drawing over and drawing the same characters over and over again, especially if you do comics. Like it gets in your head eventually. There is a period where it's like, let me reference this image of Pinkie Pie so I can learn how to draw the main. And just each time you're drawing Pinkie Pie, you're getting that references up and you're like, yeah. And you sort of have these little tricks that you're learning. Like, okay, so this shape goes here. This like blob of mane goes here and it leads into this one. And you sort of, you get familiar with it. You get these little things in your mind. And then for a while, you can probably just draw the pony that you've been drawing a lot because it's like, okay, I've got these little tricks in my head. I'm sort of familiar with it now. But then there's always a point where you just start drifting. Even if you're still drawing the character, you will start drifting away because your brain just starts to want to tweak things and be creative, and your brain never thinks the same way twice. Every idea is different, and that means that naturally your process of doing something the way you've learned it is going to naturally drift as well, and you're not going to hold the same thing in your brain forever. So then there comes a point where you've got to bring up a reference again because you've kind of forgotten how to draw the character exactly because your brain's just been experimenting with it. But maybe there's a specific thing you're trying to do for the sake of consistency in whatever project you're doing.
There's a reason why, like, even 7 seasons into drawing a show, I was still like the model sheets of the characters. Because it's
See,
hard.
it's funny. In my head, I consider those completely like two different types of referencing. Like one's just like you need to look up a character, and the other is more about studying the anatomy and actually looking how something's made. The other's just like, okay, yeah, the hair's long, the thing is this shade of pink, and it's like to me, it's like two separate worlds.
Here's
Yeah,
how
for
the
instance, like
character looks versus here's like the intricacies of the specific pose and how this bit of the arm sort of overlaps with the body and how this sort of end of the hoof looks and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. One's superficial, the other's substance.
With this specific pose, let me erase this. What you've got here is you've got 2 points where this pony is sort of touching the ground. You've got sort of the rump area, and you've got this hoof. And so you'll see it in CPC's one, and you'll see it in mine, how the hoof is like a lot really straight, and it's like coming directly off of like where it connects underneath the neck. So it's something along these lines. And the big reason why it's straight in both of our pictures is because like there's a lot of weight being transferred directly through there and directly through there, and it's sort of how the pony is keeping stable, rather than this, which sort of indicates there's like a little bit of weight through there, but like not really. Nah, she's leaning on that, so a lot of limp. Just a little thing. But yeah, good picture. Good drawing is good.
Is cute. Is super cute.
Oh, one thing that is pretty interesting that I like doing is I will look up. I'll go to Bing. I'll go to the image search, and I will search pictures of cats, and then I will scroll through until I see one that looks interesting, and then try to look at that picture of a cat, and then try to draw it as a pony. And that's
Yes.
it's really really cool because it's like you're looking at something for reference, sure, but you're looking at like an animal which is very explicitly different, has different portions and everything. So you're like having to change things to get it to be a pony, and that's something I find really exciting.
That's interesting 'cause it's sort of a thought process on it's like we talk about like using references that aren't exactly the pose that you're drawing, because then it makes you think about how the things work in 3D space. It's like taking observations and applying them to a different idea. I like that. Also, though, ponies are just like marshmallow kitties a lot of the time, as we've established.
Heck yeah, sketches. Heck yeah, drawings. Yeah.
Heck yeah, in general. Yeah, it's funny, like, I actually did that the other day. I was scrolling through Twitter and someone took a picture of their cat, and I'm like, "That's a really cute pose." And then I ended up drawing Kovu from The Lion King. Because I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Here's a cat pose, there's a cat." I know it's not cat to pony, but still, the idea still stands. Animal to animal, four-legged to four-legged, it's possible.
It's a good drawing, and I'm excited to see some more drawings because it's always fun. Also, CPC is clearly too powerful. Too good at drawing. CPC, you need to stop drawing immediately. I'm sorry.
I will not do that because I want money.
Okay.
Maybe I also have some fun with it. I want money.
It's good. As an aside, it's good to look at kind of what overlaps. For example, this like shoulder is in front of everything, and so it's in front of everything, and then this little bit of shoulder is also in front of the body. But also with this like whole back hoof area, let me erase. Erase. What the important thing here is that this chest is in front of this like where this shoulder connects. Because if you look at the whole thing with these like shoulder connections, this one is like in front, and this one is being covered by the chest. And so you draw sort of the chest there, and then this in front, and then as the hoof comes down, you can either keep it behind the body still, or you can have it like push in front of the body and like twist around the body and stuff like that. You can do it either way, but you need to make an active decision on which bit is in front and which bit's behind and all that kind of thing. And it's just a good thing in general to keep in mind as you're sketching, because it'll overlapping stuff is good. These two are good for legs. My legs are weird, but those two are good.
Cute. It's very pony.
Yeah. Very penny.
All right. Do you have any more questions for us?
Artisan plus. Artisan plus.
Yeah, the back legs
Come
are
and draw with us.
really weird.
The MLP DS.
This whole area, this whole like thigh area thing, tends to act as like one big block that never changes. So when
I
you're
love your
moving
drawing,
and
Ellie.
stretching it in weird ways, you
Oh,
need to
thank you.
decide how to break it. And
Yeesh.
there's a lot of ways to break it, but there's like a limited number of ways to break it and get it still looking right.
If I've got three different attempts and styles.
This is what.
Yeah.
This is why we harp on questions, because look at all the different ways to do a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see. It's good to see like the different approaches.
I like the ear placement. Whenever I've probably mentioned this like a million times before, but whenever I'm looking at like the whole head and positioning of everything, I draw like have the general circle that you've got there, have the general sort of thing, and then as it sort of goes around, I have this sort of thing. So like, if you look at it from the front, it's like almost a sphere,
except there's like two cutoffs on either end of it, and like these like almost flat bits at the sides. And that's kind of where I place the ears. I've seen an artist called Alumix do this sort of thing where when he's positioning ears, he'll like start off with just the little hook things, sort of, is the ear up, is the ear like sort of out to the side, is the ear down, and then he'll use that as like a general sort of,
That's
here's a
just
basic
clever.
kind of an ear.
I never
Yeah,
noticed that. That's really clever.
and then over the top he'll like do the full ear and like sort of, whatever kind of anatomy he needs around it to sort of support it and all that sort of stuff. And then the good thing about doing that as well, having this like sort of cross section cutoff bit, is that also when I'm doing the eyes, I can sort of make sure that the eyes don't intrude on the space for the ears, and it like separates them out very, very much. That's kind of my advice for positioning ears and all that. But I think that the ears that you've got are like positioned pretty well.
Yeah, yours feel nice.
It can be useful to think about how to face them. Both of these are facing fairly forwards. I might throw them off to either side, the left and the right, away from the face just a little bit because of like how sort of close they are. Because the ears are like really pushed in that way, there's like not as much room to sort of have these pushed up against here, unless you have like this weird kind of like curvy kind of like shapes around and all that sort of stuff.
I think so. I was just looking at your drawing again for the pony's right ear, our left. I think the thing is, it's like because you have the head tilted backwards, I almost expect the top of the head to overlap the ear a bit more. Otherwise, it's encroaching on the eye territory, and I think that's what's throwing me off with that ear. Like you have the wrong side overlapping, like because right now I'm looking at the ear. Yeah, it overlaps the head, like as Pixie's drawing, and that feels like, oh, it's coming right crashing into the eyelid. Where if you have it, maybe the top of the head overlapping, but this could be something that can just one of those things like, oh, throw some hair over it. It'll take care of any confusion. But but yeah, like almost I want the head to overlap the ear a bit because if you look at like a pony head from the side, the ear doesn't come out up front, it comes out, like, a little bit tucked back, right? Or even, like, on top of the head, depending on if you're looking more at a horse or a pony. I think that's my nitpick for it, and that's like, again, I'm nitpicking, so it's like, "Your drawing's really good." This is just a nitpick because you asked a specific question.
I at the moment, I do like a weekly life drawing thing, and what I've done is I've like printed off a bunch of pictures of foxes, and I'll like give the models fox muzzle and fox ears and that sort of stuff. And like the ears are without a doubt the most consistently annoying thing to place because trying to decide sort of how and where they touch the head and sort of how the ear shape comes off of it and all that sort of stuff is annoying as. So I need to mess around with that as well and get more consistent in that because it's a really difficult bit of anatomy
Yeah.
to sort of understand. That's probably where sketching over and outlining over other people's art can help.
Whoa. You mean we do these things that we suggest?
No.
I did it a bunch for muzzles because I was awful at muzzles, and then I'm like, okay, these few artists, I really like their muzzles. Let's like draw over 16 of their muzzles and
Yeah.
look at how they work. Like because it's all like 3D shapes, you need to sort of understand it from like a bunch of different angles.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
That's why I love making the shapes. Like if I know what a a cube looks like, and I know what a cylinder looks like, I can take that. I can take those simple shapes and twist them however I want to. And sure, it may look awkward sometimes. It may just like come out funky, but I can correct them as much as I please to figure out what I'm doing. And I can mess with them instead of messing with the details of the thing I'm drawing.
It's fun to mess with like really basic shapes. Like probably honestly one of my like favorite things is just to like draw basic shapes and like mess around with them and see how they like look
It's
from
a
different
great
angles
warm
and
up,
stuff.
honestly. I highly recommend anyone to
Mm.
just start off with drawing some shapes, see what happens. Like the better you are with sketching your shapes, you'll get that pen control practice in. You get to draw some fun shapes. You can get some 3D recognition going on when you mess with like more 3D shapes. It's all around very good for you, and it's low pressure because it's just shapes, right? You're getting to draw
Mm.
shapes.
And especially because you can dig into some like pretty complicated weird topics like foreshortening and all that kind of
Ooh,
stuff.
yeah.
Like whenever somebody's like having trouble with their muzzles because they're like uh, they're looking straight at us but the muzzle is still like going down here a little bit, I can like draw a box and be like, hey, see how like tiny that space is. That's how tiny your muzzle should be if they're looking right at us and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Any other art people like to submit? Understanding ponies in 3D. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Highly
It's
suggest
hard
getting.
because there is like a 3D understanding of it, but then on top of that, there's the 2D. Okay, let's just fudge it a bit to make it look more interesting, or make it look cooler, or make it
Yeah.
look a little bit more understandable.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic in art. Just because something looks good doesn't mean it's technically correct, and it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be technically correct to be good. There's a lot that goes into it than just like perfect photocopies. Ramble, ramble.
Rambo! All right. Well, that looks like it is it for today. Thank you all for joining us, and as always, we'll be here next week. Likely, we're going to be doing a longer stream next week, as it will be our 250th stream. Well, party
Send
on!
in your
Happy
packs.
anniversary!
And
Yay!
then, after that, we're rolling on to the holidays. So I believe at this time we are still alive for the holidays, seeing as it'll be the 22nd and 29th.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, from what we've talked about, I believe we're not going to be taking any breaks this year.
And
Because, well, I mean, we're all quarantined too, so.
you might even see a special holiday stream by us. Maybe, if we can ever
And
organize ourselves.
and I'll sneak in an extra little thing. There may be a charity stream with people who are in this stream.
Yeah.
Sometime maybe the 18th. Definitely the 18th. So, yeah, ch- just keep
And
an
we
ear out.
totally have everything prepared, maybe.
Great, good times, charity, art.
Yes,
That's all
Of
you need to
course.
know. We'll worry about the
you
rest. You
give to
just bring
charity
your
and
wallets.
you get art.
Bring your
Yeah.
wallets.
That's the only responsibility. Bring your wallet, which is your PayPal, or whatever. Anyway.
Card, whatever the charity accepts.
Yeah.
You don't pay us, you pay the charity.
No,
We'll just do the art.
exactly. Yeah. We're gonna be art monkeys for the day.
All right, and with that, we'll bid you adieu. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Boy.